So it's 5:30 now, and we have some persons in already, quite a few persons. So we are ready to start, and Paula, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ashana. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to you all to this, our enlightenment webinar entitled Digital Transformation and Customer Experience. This seminar is a part of our series sponsored by the Customer Service Professionals Group of Trinidad and Tobago. I am Paula White, and it is indeed my pleasure and my honor to welcome you all here this afternoon. And we certainly thank you for taking the time to come to be a part of this session. And we really are going to make it worth your while. So welcome, 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 everyone. So this afternoon, we are here. Big questions. How to get the most out of this session, and why digital transformation and customer experience. I'll answer the first question first. To get the most out of this session, apart from the common things that you would do, like concentrate and give your all to the session, we want to let you know that the duration of this session is 1 hour, with 10 minutes dedicated to question and answers at the end of the session. To facilitate the question and answer session, we invite you to post your questions in the chat, addressing the questions to everyone and not the host, because one of our team members would be coordinating all the questions, pooling them to be answered by our presenter at the end of the session. Our presenter will answer all the questions that he's able to within the time allocated. However, in the event that there are questions that are left unanswered, he has committed to sending you the answers via email. And of course, we are going to hold him to that commitment. Full disclosure, everyone, we are recording this session. So why are we here? Why digital transformation? Why customer experience? Why now? It is because we are in a time when many businesses are accelerating their efforts to transform in order to remain relevant and functional in the new normal. We recently had the pandemic. We're still going through it to an extent. And many businesses would have had to get into survival mode in their immediate response to the pandemic. They made many decisions which, without probably considering their long-term goals and their business strategy. But now it's a different time. Even though businesses may not be able to consider all the eventualities in the future which may affect their business, we can all agree that business strategy is extremely important, especially a robust strategy that considers digital transformation and customer experience, putting these two giants, as it were, at the forefront. So this afternoon into evening, this will be the essence of our discussion. And our presenter, Mr. Sheldon Paul from BLU Networks Consultancy, will be speaking to us on these questions as well as a number of other questions, sharing insights into why we should consider digital transformation from the perspective of strategy rather than technology. And of course, the next big piece of it, how can digital transformation support business strategy and support the customer experience with which we want to delight our customers? So we are here this afternoon for this purpose. And some of us might be asking, I did some time ago, who is Sheldon Paul? Well, Sheldon Paul has 20 years experience in the field of information technology, specializing in data communications and business strategy. His educational background is varied, including technology, strategy, and business management. Now, before he formed Blue Technology, he worked in a number of fields, including banking and finance and telecom services. So we now have with us this afternoon, Sheldon Paul, a gentleman who has had professional exposure, experience, and I'm sure that he leverages these, and he probably adds a little bit of his charm to it, perhaps, to really delight his customers and create a great customer experience. Now, in his capacity, in his role at Blue Networks, one of the major philosophies of Sheldon Paul is that regardless of what you sell or what is the business in which you are involved, customer service must be at the forefront. It cannot be ignored, and it must be an organization's focus. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are in great hands. And let us just say welcome to Sheldon Paul. It's good to be sharing this platform with you this afternoon, Sheldon. It is truly an honor.
Paula, good
Are you
afternoon.
ready? Are you
I'm
ready? You
I'm,
are ready. You are ready.
I'm
Lovely.
ready.
So, Sheldon, when we initially spoke to you about this topic, we
Mhm.
had some ideas about how it should be approached. And you indicated that we should approach it from the perspective of strategy, which Ashana and I totally embrace. It made sense. And just give us your ideas where that is concerned. May I invite you now to just share an overview of what this topic involves?
Okay.
Sheldon.
First of all, let me say good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you to Kush TT and DRA for making this possible, and good afternoon to everybody that took the time to log on. Paula, to your question. So, what is digital transformation at the end of the day, and why is it relevant? So, I want to frame that answer using two particular variables. One, the context, as in where we are now, and two, the results. So when we look at the context, guys, the world has shifted over the last 6 to 7 months, a drastic shift. Some people may have framed it as panic. What will we do? How will we go on? Etc. But it was a drastic shift. Our way of doing business, and even the way that our customers are accustomed to us doing business, has changed. The way we work, as well as the way our employees work or know how to work, that has also changed. The way we interact with our customers and what our customers see as the normal operation has also changed. So the common thread within the context is change, and the need to adapt. But when we look at the results, what has that context forced, Paula? Right? That context has forced a shift, or that shift has prompted many organizations to do what they have to do, which is respond. And how do they respond? All right. So the global community, as well as the business community, they were forced to actually ask themselves, what do we need to do to survive? Right? How do we navigate this change? What do we need to do? How do we learn from this? What do we need to do to move forward? And most importantly, we need to find a new way to do things, because the target that we were all looking at as organizations, as individuals, that target has moved. There's still a target though. Our customers still expect good service, but the way that we do it or go about it has to shift. So digital transformation, or as the technology world calls it, DX. DX has become truly relevant because this is the strategic tool, and I use the words very carefully, Paula. Strategic tool, not tool. Strategic. This is the strategic tool that will be used to move these businesses into this new landscape, or what the world is referring to as this new normal. So I don't just like to come out and say digital transformation or DX is relevant. So I wanted to paint that picture. It's relevant because we all needed to make and still need to make a shift. And that shift is going to be afforded by that strategic tool, which is digital transformation.
Thank you very much, Sheldon. So just to tie the package of points that you have shared with us, from what I gather, companies must seek to harmonize their context, especially the current context of the new normal, with their targeted results. So, and this requires them to consider the next question I'm going to ask you, which is why is it important to approach digital transformation as a strategy using the strategy lens rather than the technology or upgrade lens? Why?
Okay, let me answer that question by posing a question to the audience, Paula, which they can all throw in.
Lovely. So
in
please open your mics and you can contribute to this segment.
So guys, the idea behind this is that it has to be interactive, because from where we sit, that's the only way we can learn. So when you hear the term digital transformation, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Right? So that's the question I want to pose to you guys. We could always talk about it after, or you could put it in the chat. But when you hear the term DX or digital transformation, what comes to mind? All right? Technology, from Joanna White. And Joanna, that's you as well as the majority of people in the world. And from where I sit, my view, as well as some other people in the field, our view is that therein lies part of the problem. Right? The first word that should enter your mind is, okay, strategic. All right, this is not something small, this is big. From Ashana said digital enablement. So let me answer the question, Paula. But in answering the question, I want to speak about 3 terms that are thrown all around the technology space since the pandemic. Right? These terms are digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. They're all used interchangeably, but please believe me when I tell you guys, they mean different things. So digitization is the process of moving something from a manual state to an electronic state. Take, for instance, Paula, you have notes in front of you, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right. If those notes, good. If those notes on paper, the movement of those notes into an electronic platform like Microsoft Word, that is digitization.
Well, Sheldon, I'm pleased to let you know that my notes have been digitized because I also have them on my computer.
Good, but have you transformed anything, Paula?
Well, I've transformed my life in terms of how I'm able to deliver this afternoon.
Good. Let's go to the next buzzword. So digitization, Paula, is the move of that manual piece of that information, that manual, into digital format. All right. But what I want us to understand though is digitization actually creates a platform for the organization to start to think about moving forward in the digital space. It's not digital transformation, but it's normally where a lot of organizations start. The next term is called digitalization. So we spoke about digitization. Now this is digitalization. Digitalization uses digitization, meaning, Paula, that same document that is now in Microsoft Word or electronic format, organizations now see the need for that to try to attempt to make their processes more efficient. So they take that, and let's say you have a team across 15 countries. You can now take that digital document and send it to people in those countries. So you bring efficiency, slight change to your processes and so on, but that is called digitalization. So we've digitized, and then we've started to benefit from that digitization by moving to digitalization, where we started to include some of those digital stuff into our business process slightly. But have we changed anything, guys? The pandemic doesn't require only digitization or digitalization. The pandemic requires a shift in how we do things, guys. So digital transformation, according to Salesforce, many people, I mean, if you out there and don't know who Salesforce is a world leader in CRM and sales platform, sales enablement. So according to salesforce.com, digital transformation is the process of transforming or changing. Sorry, digital transformation is using digital technology to create new or modify existing business processes, culture, and customer experiences. Why? To meet the demands of business and new market requirements. So understand the words have changed. Digitization, we've converted. Digitalization, we've used that conversion or that converted medium to increase efficiency, but digital transformation, we've changed, we've shifted. So Paula, why do we now approach digital transformation totally different to technology or upgrade or revamp? The truth is that anytime you change, any technological change requires some level of thought, right? The fact is when you make technology revamps or upgrades, the thought process in an upgrade as opposed to the thought process in a transformation is totally different. And we can look at a practical example, implementing a firewall, a small technology device in an environment. That normally requires just thought around, okay, what's the business impact? How do I get this in? No significant business change. If you take that approach and use that same limited thought process approach towards digital transformation, the chances of failure are very high. Right? So your question was, Paula, why is it important to approach DX as a strategy rather than a technology revamp? The impact of implementing digital transformation in your organization is severely different to just a technology upgrade. Based on that alone and the potential for business disruption and even loss of reputation, it is recommended that it be approached from a strategic level rather than just an operational level. Great. So that's what I would call the difference.
Great. So therefore, what we're clearly seeing is that you are suggesting to us that this digital transformation approach is certainly very holistic, and it impacts the overall performance, cultural experience of customers, the customer experience, the entire culture of the organization, as indicated in that definition that you gave. And truly, it makes perfect sense. We say the very same thing at DRA when we are dealing with customer transformation, customer experience transformation with our clients. However, there is always this situation where persons say, as Ashana would say, this is a lot of work to do. Why do I need to do all of this? That's the reality, and I'm sure you know it as well. What is the risk of not dealing with it from this strategic approach that you described, and just taking it as nice to have, good technology, and it just makes life a little easier and more efficient for so many persons? What are some of the real life consequences of doing it this way?
Before you respond, Sheldon, I just wanted to acknowledge another comment in response to your question for feedback on what
Thank you, Ashana.
When persons hear the word digital transformation. So we got technology, we got digital enablement, and Nicola Tiluxing said the first word is speed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, very, 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 very good, guys. And to be very honest, those are very, very normal responses. Because, I mean, with technology, a lot of people associate speed, digital enablement, and a lot of those things with any kind of technological advancement. And that's good. The argument that we're making here, guys, is that DX requires more. And the implications of not considering it as requiring more could be very detrimental to your business. So Paula, going in to answer your questions. Thanks, yes. Ashana. And I wrote some points, so you may see me glancing to my left because I want to stay on point, all right? Now, I want to start answering a question by saying this. Digital transformation is more of a business strategy than technology, guys. I want us to agree on that. So from this minute forward, I don't want us to be looking at DX or digital transformation as a technology. Digital transformation is a strategy that can be enabled using multiple technologies, right? So DX at the strategy level, technology enables the strategy. So the thought process is different. The challenge that we're seeing is that there's so much focus on technology when referring to DX that there's a loss of the strategic approach. And that is often seen too late in the process. Any transformation activity in your organization requires deep thought and a strategic approach. All right. But when you think technology, sometimes the thought process is limited. So, Paula, in my view, some of the consequences of approaching DX as a technology upgrade or revamp as follows. Number one, failed initiative. And this one alone, according to sites like Salesforce.com, NetGuru.com, and some other organizations, failed initiative has multiple contributors, and we'll just focus on a few. And at the end of the day, a failed initiative is an initiative that does not come off the ground, or according to what the business wants to achieve, it was not achieved. All right, so let's look at some of the contributors to failed initiative. Lack of senior management, lack of buy-in, lack of involvement within the organization. All right, so if this were being approached as an upgrade, as we spoke about before, so we as an organization do upgrades or technology revamps all the time. Half of the time, the CEO doesn't have to get involved because the strategy behind why that device is in place has already been established, and it's end of life now, we need to replace it. That's an operational decision.
Yes.
You see, when you approach technology like DX, based on a thought process of it's just technology, let's just handle it at the operational level. That's where we lose focus. That's where we lose focus. So in this case, when you don't have that management involvement, you know, in some organizations, management don't see the need or the importance of this initiative. Because, you know, like any other technology, the project team will run it. That creates situations where decisions are not made on time. Decisions can't be made. The people who they employ to actually go about running the project, because of the transformation required within the organization, it requires senior management decision. But if those senior managers are not present, the project doesn't move forward. So that contributes significantly to our failed initiative. You also have, this is very popular, guys, and I want us to, if we have to write anything down, write this down. You see this? Unclear organizational strategy. You see that S word, strategy? Take it and remember it. Anything in your organization requires some sort of thought process. Let's agree, all right? Some may require more thought than some. Anytime you are looking at changing the way your organization approaches doing business, that is not a small feat. So let's not approach it as a small feat. There must be a clear strategy within the organization. For instance, what are we going to expect after this transformation? What are our customers expecting us to be like after our transformation? And we could go on and on and on. But there's another question we have to answer, and all of those smaller points will come up. So unclear organizational strategy contributes to this failed initiative. Siloed approach. You know how we like sometimes to talk to this department because this is the only department that's impacted by this change. And these guys, you know what? They will survive. That siloed approach is a huge contributor to digital transformation initiatives failing. Remember, guys, we are not changing an application in the business. Changing an application may be part of the strategy, but we are changing the way we do business. If my customer pre-pandemic, right, was getting served in 10 minutes, and post-pandemic, you told the customer we've gone through a total transformation exercise, and now they're getting served in 20 minutes, you failed. You failed. You have not exceeded or even met that customer's expectation, guys. And siloed approaches, everybody not talking and different departments not collaborating, contributes to that. And before I leave this point, we have to remember that according to the size of your organization, those companies, some companies approach transformation differently. If your organization has 15 departments, You may not undertake a total transformation initiative at one time. You may break it up. If you are now starting a business, you may not even have to consider transformation because the tools available to you now are what you will have at your disposal. So your vision or your interpretation of transformation will be totally different to an organization that is in place 50 years. So transformation means different things, but the bottom line is we need to communicate. Service disruption. So we're out of fail. Those are just some of the contributors to failing, the initiative failing. But you have other factors, Paula, service disruption. Yes. So you have situations where, again, not enough thought process and the project is implemented not to the best of the organization's ability because not everything was considered. Right? And when it's time to go live, we fail. We fail. The lines that we were trying to reduce in our organization or the initiatives that we were trying to achieve, we didn't. And we have to start to look at those things. The risk potential of those things are very high when you're talking transformation, especially when you approach it as an upgrade. Right? And not to stay too long on this point, Paula, but I know this will hit home with DRA, bad customer experience.
Absolutely. That hits our heart.
If I am expecting, and most of all, you know, some companies like to tell you they're going to transform. So if you tell me you are going to transform or you create the expectation that you're going to transform, I am not expecting the same service that I had yesterday or last week. You've created an expectation in my mind. What is that expectation? So we have to be very careful the way we approach digital transformation. It cannot be at the level of an upgrade or an operational decision. That does not augur well with strategic thinking, or it doesn't get that level of thinking, Paula.
Great.
Jillian is, just to interrupt before
yes.
you Paula, Jillian is underscoring your point, Sheldon, and she says changing the way business affects everyone within the organization.
Jillian, I wish I could
another point from Charlene Pedro.
Hi, Charlene.
Ashana?
Yes, and she's saying we must manage customer expectation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Sheldon, you've shared with us that the consequences of viewing DX as technology revamp or upgrade, the fallout is real. And we cringe, especially, and you could relate to this because you have a passion for customer experience as in like manner as we do. So we cringe when we hear things like failed initiative and service disruption. Both of these have such a negative impact on our customers' immediate experience, and it could scar them in terms of what they expect from the organization. So this takes us right to the next question. And we're looking at DX in terms of customer service transformation or customer experience. What should be some critical considerations when we're thinking about customer experience transformation, CX transformation, and we want to incorporate DX? What should be some of our drivers? And what should be some critical considerations that we really need to hone in on?
Okay, Paula. So that is more than one question, but let's answer it like this. DX, digital transformation, and in this context, CX, customer experience transformation. So to be clear, you're using digital transformation to achieve customer service transformation. So the business need, just to be clear, I just want to make sure everybody understands that with every strategic initiative, you have to focus on the need. It has to tie back to the business need. So Paula, what you're saying is that the business need is customer service transformation.
Correct.
But we are using DX based on the present state of the world and so on. We are using digital transformation as a strategy to achieve that customer experience transformation.
And also, of course, you know, to get it really clear, to support the customer experience, because we understand that in customer experience, there's a parallel experience, which is the digital experience, which supports the customer. Correct. The customer experience, yes.
All right, good. All right, so let's talk about the drivers, and let's talk about some of the drivers for that customer experience transformation. So if I look at that, I would ask the first driver, let's say running an organization, what are we trying to solve specifically as it relates to customer experience? What is the problem, right? Why are we going into this initiative? What are we trying to fix? Clearly, my customers is either dissatisfied, and as an organization, I want to push the envelope, or they're not satisfied, and as an organization, I need to survive, so I need to fix this problem. What are we trying to achieve?
They are satisfied, and we want to take it to another level.
Because of competition,
correct,
right? And strategic advantage. So
competitive edge, and so, yes.
Right. The point is, we need to understand what there must be a driving factor for us. What is pushing this decision? What are the expectations of the strategy? In other words, post DX, what am I supposed to see? What are my customers supposed to see? What are they supposed to experience? These are some of the things that they are not simple at all, but these are some of the things that are supposed to drive the organization. You don't walk into a showroom to purchase a car and not know you want to feel nice driving out of the showroom. You already have an understanding of what you want, all right? So let's
look and feel a bit.
Yeah, you have to bring that out. So let's look at some of the considerations. So you want to use DX as a strategy to achieve CX, customer experience transformation. So the first thing I would ask, and there's that S word again, where is that clearly defined strategy? There needs to be a clear understanding of what the intended goal is for the organization. We have not spoken about technology yet, Paula.
Yes.
What are the organization's goals? Plenty times we run to technology first and find the right technology and then trying to fit it into our goal. We have to stop doing that. We need to stop. This is expensive if you want to look at it in dollars and cents. So that's the first thing. What we must have a clearly defined strategy, and some of the considerations within that defined strategy, Paula will speak something like this. What does DX mean for your business? So we flaunt in these algorithms all over the place. They sound nice. What does digital transformation mean for your business? You have to understand that. And the organization has to understand that. They have to feel DX. How is the transformation going to affect the business? I may have an organization, again, with multiple departments. When I go live, what are the implications? Are there any risks to transforming this part of the business and not transforming this? What am I going to look like on Friday morning when we open our doors to these customers virtually? You have to go to the end and work backwards. Don't start from the beginning and try and find out what the end is. Do you have leadership commitment? So that comes up again. I have to have buy-in. And I know somebody in the audience asks about how do I get buy-in? So we'll tie up that in the question segment, which I'm trying to get to. How is this going to affect the organizational culture? And I know people like Charlene and Adrian and Julian and those guys on the call understand what I mean when we talk about culture. It's not about how you feel. It's about whether or not the organization will take this thing well. And we have to consider that. All right?
Absolutely.
There must also be a willingness to change, not just at the employee base of the organization, but that has to start from the top. If my executive is not excited about digital transformation, it doesn't matter whether you're excited or not. It has to start from the top, come down, right? Those are the guys that sign the checks. If they don't see value in it, it wouldn't start.
Definitely.
And Paula, how is this transformation going to change my day-to-day operations? I have 15 people on the front line of my customer service area. Those 15 people are no longer going to be able to come into my office because of restrictions and so on. How am I going to change the lives of those 15 people? And how are those 15 people still going to be able to satisfy my customers? We have to get to the end result and work backwards. And we're still talking strategy, right? And not to stay too long on these because I can always send the points to the people. What is the perception in my customers' minds post transformation. You have to step into their shoes. Guys, we want to look like this. How are we going to be perceived? How are we going to be seen? 50% of my customers are 70 years plus, and I want to go online. How is that going to affect the 50%? You have to get to the end and work back. How am I going to be seen? Am I going to be seen as part of the problem or part of the solution? Absolutely. After I transform? Yes. So these are just some of the factors, and some other factors that are, a lot of the times are left, not looked at. Get involvement from all key stakeholders. Communicate, communicate, communicate. There must be a clear communication strategy. Absolutely. And get help. Get help and build your team. You cannot do this alone.
Great. Right? So your answer takes us right back to an original point that you made, which is about context and results. Because when you're talking culture and the extent to which the culture can impede or actually progress the strategy, then you're talking about context, critical aspect of context, and of course, results back to what problem am I going to solve? So clearly we see the interconnection between CX and DX, and you've made a very strong business case throughout the discussion for partnering these two strategies.
And Paula, Charlene has a comment here, which is one of the points that Sheldon raised.
Thank you.
Just highlighting leadership must lead.
Spot on, Charlene. Spot on.
Critical.
Spot on.
And Anushka has a question here, which I think we can get to this question as soon as we start the Q&A segment.
Absolutely.
Lovely question, Anushka.
So we're just speeding it up now, because Sheldon, we want to look at, to focus on you now, and to focus on BLU and the great work that you have been doing. So therefore, can you share with us your company's what your company's specialty is? And for our understanding, the scope we are talking about when we talk about DX, I guess you've explained some parts of it, but we're probably looking more at the technology side of it, because technology is always part of it, right? Yes.
All right, so as we mentioned before, guys, DX is a strategy. And in implementing the DX strategy, you have to use technological tools. So BLU Networks, so we are a telecommunications integration company. So what is that? A lot of people, okay, what is that? So we are the organization that focuses on moving your data, or traffic as we call it in the networking space, from one point to the next securely. Everything within a business requires an underlying communication infrastructure. When you swipe your ATM card, you jump on a network and you go to some bank and you come back, right? When you pick up your phone, you jump on a network, that call is transported and comes back. We are the organization that focuses on that transport. So we are the conduit, as they refer to in the networking space. So I can, in a simpler way, explain this by using an example. So we work with multiple organizations, and this example here, this company had multiple sites. So they have sites all over Trinidad and some sites regionally as well. The company was losing market share due to the fact that they were not able to provide a consistent customer experience. Again, DRA would understand this. So you have 5 to 10 sites, but every time I go to one site, my experience is different to the next site. That was primarily because there was no common telecom infrastructure platform to facilitate sharing of data and all the benefits of a consolidated infrastructure.
Yes.
So the management in one organization would have its own data storage. So we're going right back to IT 101 and networking 101. But the point I'm making, guys, is when the organization understood what the business need was, and they sat down and they evaluated, and they understood what the problems were that were contributing to that business need, they realized that they needed to transform. So bringing BLU Networks in was part of their DX strategy, but we didn't deliver the entire strategy. We delivered parts of the strategy as it relates to establishing that underlying secure networking infrastructure. For example, how do they connect from branch to branch? All of their branches need to connect to each other. How do they connect to the cloud securely? A lot of data is being stored in the cloud now. You can't approach cloud storage or access to the cloud like you would in your home. Corporate access to the cloud should be managed in a more secure manner. Secure remote access. All of these people that are sitting at their homes now, how are they able to communicate with their customers and still securely be able to effect service? So we as an organization, that's where we focus. So in terms of DX, we will be an organization that focuses on some of the technologies that are required within your DX strategy. In this case, all telecommunications related. I hope I made that easy to understand, Paula.
Yes, because I'm getting here connectivity, and I'm also getting security of your networks and our being able to things that we tend to take for granted, Sheldon, that when you swipe your card, we do not know what is going on in the background, how data is being routed and all of these things. So clearly, it's a lot more than meets the eye. It is definitely a very diverse and specialized field, which brings us to the next question. Would it be advisable or would it be advantageous to any client in looking at DX if within the organization we had someone who is knowledgeable and who will be able to speak with you as a consultant, almost to an extent on equal level, so to speak, in terms of understanding of DX? Would that be an advantage for us as an organization?
Paula, that's a resounding yes. And I attended a webinar this week. Today is what? Yeah, I attended a webinar this week, and they made reference to something called a DX or Digital Transformation Officer. Right now, I'm sure the term exists, but I can see the importance of somebody driving digital transformation in the organization, especially if that's the person's focus, and especially if that person is at a senior position within the organization. If not senior, they have buy-in from the entire executive.
Yes. They are influencers.
Yes. So, and I say that because focus creates results. And sometimes when you have too many things on your plate, you don't get what you need to get done. So having somebody who's experienced in digital transformation, and as we understood, DX is not one technology, right? DX is understanding of transformation itself. The technologies, you can work with companies to implement the relevant technologies after you've implemented your plan. So somebody championing the initiative from that perspective, I could only see as beneficial in the organization. So the answer is yes.
Great, great. So Sheldon, I'm going to ask you our final question, and I'm going to do it in a way that will just tie up a few things together. So I do not need to come in until the wrap up, okay? So you know exactly what the last question is, which is about your sharing a success story. And of course, after that, we will want to know how to reach you. I am sure that all our participants will want to know how to reach you. And after that, we're going to go immediately into the Q&A session where Ashana will take lead and identify the questions to be asked. So this way we could actually speed up everything and get as many questions answered as possible during the remaining time and still finish on time to respect the time of our participants.
Okay.
So it's to you, Sheldon.
Yes, and Ashana was very stringent with time, so I have about 2 minutes to answer this question. So Paula, that's the reason I started to speak about this example in the question before. So one of the successes we've had as an organization is where we work with a company to actually address the issue of the inconsistent way that customer service was being delivered within their organization. And that is not a technology business issue. We got involved after they had their plan and they understood what needed to be done. So as a result of coming into that project now, we actually successfully connected all of their branches securely and redundantly. So redundantly meaning we created multiple routes to different branches. So if one telecom provider failed, the customer does not see the difference. All right, so they're still able to transact business, and that is very important when customers stand in front of you.
Absolutely.
we were also able to reduce operational expense by now allowing them to be able to pick up a phone and dial an extension to get another branch rather than dial an outside line to get another branch. That's basic voice over IP technology. We were also able to facilitate secure connectivity for all of their users that now had to sit at their homes and still provide a seamless customer experience for their customers, right? We were also able to outfit the organization with secure Wi-Fi technology because 90% of their staff, they purchased laptops for them. So they had to now transition from the desktop environment to the laptop environment. But your organization has to also transition to be able to connect those laptops securely. All right, so we implemented secure Wi-Fi as well. So what factors made it successful? We had commitment from management. And at every point in time, though we were not the champions in the entire project, we were a significant part. At every point in time, we were always able to upline every solution to the business issue. It makes no sense, guys. If you feel you have a solution and then tie it to an operational problem, you will not get the time of day in an organization. You have to talk about how that solves the business issue in the organization. It's all about solving the business issues. So we were able to always have that line, and management continuously were able to see benefits even before implementation. And last but not least, as an organization, we plan a lot. We plan exceedingly. So we were able to convert that organization, and they only had downtime on a Saturday and Sunday when they are closed anyway. So essentially they had no downtime, and they were able to open their doors on Monday morning and serve their customers with zero disruption because we took the time to do it right. So how do you get in contact with us, Paula? So we can be reached via our website at www.bluenetworks-tt.com. We can also be reached via an email address, sales@bluenetworks.com. You can also reach me directly at sheldon.paul@bluenetworks-tt.com. And that's Blue Networks as in BLU, not the color. BLU as in great experience. We can also be reached on my LinkedIn page. All right. You can also get to us using our phone number, 223-1576. All right, guys. So we're always available. If you need to speak about these initiatives, give us a call. We're willing to help.